You know that specific, like, totally exhilarating moment in a movie where the entire genre of the story just flips right in front of your
Oh,
eyes?
yeah. Like when you realize you're not watching what you thought you were watching.
Exactly. You go into it thinking, okay, I'm watching a slow burn workplace drama about this uh, disgruntled employee dealing with a terrible boss.
Yeah,
You settle in for a story about just enduring a bad situation,
right.
but then completely out of nowhere, the blueprints to the casino get rolled out on a dimly lit table, and you realize
Watching a heist.
you are watching a heist. It's not a workplace drama at all.
Yeah, the underlying architecture of the narrative just completely changes. I mean, the characters stop reacting to the oppressive system around them and they start, actively dismantling it. It
Yes.
completely rewires your expectations as an audience member.
And that profound shift is exactly what we are dissecting today. So welcome to this deep dive. If you're joining us, you know we are total book fanatics. And today our mission is to unpack a massive, game-changing turning point in Troy St. James's novel, In Darkness We Sleep.
Oh, it's such a good section.
It really is. We are specifically looking at part 5 of the prologue, which covers sections 6 and 7 of the text. And our goal today is to investigate how St. James masterfully pivots this narrative from a standard medical drama into, like, a high-stakes investigative thriller.
Driven by a secret alliance, blatant medical fraud, and a frankly daring hospital escape.
Oh, totally. It is wild.
So, to properly set the stage for this pivot, we need to ground ourselves right outside Columbia Hospital in Denver, Colorado, because this is a massive, pristine medical institution.
Yeah.
And up until this morning in the story, the power dynamic has been, rigidly set.
Very rigid.
Yeah, Dr. Wells is the arrogant, undisputed medical authority. He rules his department with an iron fist. And Willie, the orderly, has been his perpetual punching bag.
Just enduring constant degradation.
Exactly. And then you have Gloria Matson, the desperate mother. Her son, Jason, has been trapped in a coma for 2 years under Dr. Wells's care.
2 whole years.
Right. So the tension between these three has been simmering, but out here on the pavement, that hierarchy is about to just violently capsize.
Prologue, Part 6. Gloria ran into Willie on the following morning as they were both heading for the main entrance to the hospital. Willie walked quickly, with a funny forward lean, which seemed to keep him on time. Gloria hooked her arm into Willie's. "Gloria!" She leaned in and gave Willie a soft kiss on his right cheek. He looked stunned, but pleased. She spoke quickly and clearly, keeping eye contact with Willie. "I want to take you up on your offer, Willie. I have lost faith in Dr. Wells. I don't... Shh. It's nothing you did. I was already thinking about your idea long before yesterday. I just need to see that prick in there doing what he did to you. I didn't care. He hurt you. It's obvious that his textbook medicine, his fake smile, is all he has in that shallow mind of his. Anyway, I want to hear more about your alternatives." She knew he wasn't going to be able to spend any more time with her in the parking lot talking about this, so she offered, "When you're off work, I'll take you to dinner. Sound good?" He nodded quickly and offered a little smile. His hardened face looked heavy. Gloria could see that the work he did wore him down. The emotional cost of working for a man like Dr. Wells was degrading and contradicted the whole point of this place. She was saddened by that, but realized that this little smile was dying to get out. "See you tonight, right here." She pulled her arm free from Willie's and started back to her car. She knew they couldn't walk into the front door together. She'd drive around about an hour and come back to visit her son. She turned back to Willie and spoke slyly. "Willie, Can you sign Dr. Wells' signature? Prologue, Part 7. Gloria Matherson's son, Jason, was in the Columbia Hospital in Denver, Colorado during a 2-year coma. He still required therapy to work through issues with his left arm, but he would be just fine, according to Willie. Gloria and Willie were seen pushing Jason out the front doors and to the curb of the Columbia Hospital at 3 p.m. on Saturday. The spring afternoon air was crisp, and the day was very bright, so Willie stood in front of him to block the sun while Gloria hurried to get her car. The discharge papers lying in Jason's lap was all signed by Dr. Wells, a man who had failed to notice Jason missing from the hospital for quite a while. Once he did, the documentation showing a signature would even fool him. The Jason Matherson case file would be sent to the basement file storage, imaged into the hospital computer, and saved for another day. Willie looked at Jason, who was trying to get used to the outdoor light. "You'll be okay." Jason tried to use his left hand to shade his eyes, but it wouldn't move. "That's monoplasia, a form of paralysis resulting from your stroke. With treatment, we can normalize the functions in your brain and your blood vessels. Muscles and tendons should recover." Jason raised a right hand awkwardly over his eyes and tried to look up at Willie, but couldn't make out his face. On rare occasions, like today, Willie sounded like a trustworthy practitioner. Willie's image was still blurry, but he knew the face was dark and round. The man also had long hair, pulled back in a long ponytail. Willie had a very earthy look about him. As a Native American, he looked more in tune with the world than everyone else. His innocent, wide-eyed gaze gave people cause to distrust him. They made Willie look clueless to everyone who laid eyes on him, but he seemed to Jason to have more spirit behind those eyes, more secrets. Whatever the case, Willie at least cared about Jason's health. Willie helped get Jason into the blue sedan as people moved about them, none aware that Willie had committed fraud not 15 minutes ago. This also won't be the last time, as Willie has bad feelings about doctors, but he really believes in the spirit that heals men and women. Doctors are kind of in the way, so Jason was free to go home and would have his share of healing medicine from the Columbia Hospital's locked storehouse. In fact, Gloria Matherson had a shoebox sitting on the front seat between her and her son, containing a little gift from Willie. This spring afternoon was otherwise uneventful. The good people of Denver's Columbia Hospital continued to help people with severe or chronic illness, and Dr. Wells remains oblivious to the fact that men like Willie can administer aid like nobody's business.
Yeah, so let's get into the mechanics of how that capsizing actually begins, starting with that morning encounter between Gloria and Willie. The character details StJames uses here do so much heavy lifting.
Oh, they really do.
It's the morning immediately following a particularly brutal shift where Dr. Wells severely degraded Willie, and Gloria and Willie are both heading toward the main entrance of the hospital. Willie is described as walking quickly with this funny forward lean.
Yeah, the lean.
Right. And it's noted that this specific physical lean seemed to be the only thing actually keeping him on time.
Well, that forward lean is a brilliant piece of physical characterization. I mean, StJames is showing us, rather than telling us, the psychological weight of Willie's reality.
Oh, absolutely.
That posture is literally the biomechanics of a man who is constantly rushing, constantly attempting to meet the impossible demands of a massive institution that just actively disrespects him.
Yeah, he's physically leaning into the crushing burden of his job just to maintain his precarious position in the hospital's ecosystem.
Right, but then Gloria does something that completely fractures his grim routine.
An arm hook.
Yes. She hooks her arm into his, leans in, and gives him a soft kiss on his right cheek.
Which is an incredibly intimate gesture.
It really is.
Especially considering they are standing right outside the sterile, bureaucratic hospital where they both work. I mean, this dynamic makes me think of that classic heist movie trope, the desperate protagonist who realizes they need to recruit the unlikely inside man to pull off the impossible.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
But it also, it raises a complicated question about Gloria's emotional state for me. I mean, is she actively manipulating Willie here, like buttering him up to get what she wants? Or is she genuinely heartbroken by the emotional toll of watching Dr. Wells constantly break this man down?
See, I think the brilliance of Gloria as a character is that she is operating on both of those wavelengths simultaneously.
Really? Both?
Yeah, because StJames makes it clear that Gloria is highly observant. She recognizes that the emotional cost of working for a man like Dr. Wells is degrading. She sees the profound irony that a hospital, a place theoretically dedicated to healing, is being run by a man who inflicts psychological damage on his own staff.
Yeah, that's such a good point.
And when she looks at Willie, she actually notes that his little smile looks like it is dying to get out, but it's being suppressed by the environment. So she feels genuine empathy for him.
Empathy, but also, an overwhelming sense of urgency regarding her son.
Exactly.
Jason has been in a coma for 2 years, and Gloria has completely run out of patience with the medical establishment.
Well, her loss of faith in Dr. Wells is absolute, and her critique of him is just devastatingly precise.
Oh, she tears him apart.
She does. When she's speaking with Willie, she drops the polite veneer entirely. She calls Wells a prick with a shallow mind.
Wow.
But the most damning indictment she makes is when she dismisses Dr. Wells's entire practice as nothing more than textbook medicine hidden behind a fake smile.
Oh, man. Textbook medicine. That phrase carries so much weight in the context of healthcare.
It really does.
It implies that Dr. Wells understands the pure mechanics of the human body, but possesses absolutely zero understanding of the humanity of his patients. It paints a picture of a doctor who treats a patient like a broken car engine on an assembly line.
Well, like they're just parts.
Yeah, it's a rigid flowchart approach to healing that completely lacks intuition or empathy.
And when Gloria calls it textbook medicine, she is rejecting the entire bureaucratic clinical establishment that Dr. Wells represents. She is realizing that the flowchart approach has completely failed her son.
So
So she turns to the orderly. She tells Willie, I want to hear more about your alternatives, and offers to buy him dinner after work to discuss a different path forward.
And this is the moment the genre flips.
Yep.
Because she doesn't just leave it at a dinner invitation. They both know they can't be seen walking into the hospital together, which really highlights how deeply taboo their forming alliances.
Oh, yeah, and the optics.
Right. So Gloria starts walking away toward her car, but then she stops. She turns back to Willie, and she drops the ultimate line-crossing bombshell. She asks, "Willie, can you sign Dr. Wells' signature?"
Oh, it gives me chills. That single question catapults the narrative from a story about seeking alternative treatments into a story about active conspiracy. Asking someone to forge a light doctor's signature isn't just bending hospital protocol. It is a severe felony. It is medical fraud. Gloria is asking Willie to cross a legal and moral Rubicon.
And the narrative absolutely floors the gas pedal here. Like, we don't get chapters of them debating the ethics of this choice.
No, not at all.
StJames moves us directly from Gloria planting that seed of forgery to the audacious execution of their plan. The story cuts to 3 p.m. on a Saturday. It's described as a crisp, bright spring afternoon. And Gloria and Willie are brazenly pushing Jason's bed, a man who's been comatose for 2 years, right out the front doors of Columbia Hospital and onto the front curb.
And resting conspicuously right in Jason's lap are the forged discharge papers, fully finalized with Dr. Wells' forged signature.
The execution of the getaway is incredibly satisfying, especially when Gloria goes to pull the car around and it turns out to be the recurring blue sedan.
I knew you were going to bring up the sedan.
I have to. We've seen this mundane blue sedan mentioned in the background of earlier scenes, and now it shifts to become the literal getaway vehicle. I love it when an author plants a background detail that pays off as a crucial plot device.
It's so good.
But, this scene also introduces a massive friction point for me regarding the plausibility of this entire operation.
Okay, let's hear it.
We are talking about Columbia Hospital in Denver. It is a major, sprawling medical center. I struggle to understand how two people can just wheel a comatose patient out the front doors in broad daylight. Like, how does a massive institution let this happen? And how is Dr. Wells entirely oblivious to the fact that his patient has just been kidnapped from his own ward?
Yeah, I mean, on a purely surface level, it does sound highly improbable. But StJames is using this escape to make a very sharp, sociological critique about the nature of massive institutions.
Oh, interesting.
Think of the hospital not as a building full of observant people, but as a rigid computer algorithm.
Okay.
Dr. Wells is a man who relies entirely on his beloved textbook medicine and his paperwork. He doesn't look at the physical patient, he looks at the chart. If the paper input, the forged signature, says Jason is officially discharged, the bureaucratic software updates Jason's status gone.
Oh, yeah.
The institution doesn't have a metaphorical webcam to check the physical reality of the front doors. It only reads the code you feed it.
Sure, I understand that the bureaucratic software updates and the paperwork tells the system Jason is gone. But what about the hardware of the hospital? What about the physical nurses, the attending staff, the security guards? Even if the paperwork is filed, how do a mother and an orderly physically push a hospital bed containing a coma patient down a bustling hospital corridor without a single medical professional stopping them to ask questions?
Well, that brings us to the psychology of hospital hierarchy, which StJames understands perfectly. It comes down to how the medical establishment views orderlies like Willie.
Okay, yeah.
In a hyper-competitive, status-driven environment like Columbia Hospital, the lower-tier support staff are essentially treated as invisible furniture.
Invisible furniture, ouch.
It's harsh, but it's true. When an orderly in a uniform is pushing a bed down a hallway, the highly trained medical staff's brains simply filter it out as background noise. They see the uniform, they see the function being performed, but they do not see the person.
Right.
And they certainly don't question the authority of the action. Willie's invisibility within the hierarchy becomes his ultimate camouflage.
Oh, that is so fascinating. The very system that degrades him and ignores him is what provides him the cover to completely subvert them.
Exactly.
And the contrast StJames builds here is so striking. You have the stagnant, artificially lit, bureaucratic interior of the hospital where nobody really sees anything. And then you have the crisp, bright spring afternoon outside on the curb.
The rebirth.
Right. The hospital represents this sterile stagnation, while the spring outside clearly symbolizes rebirth. Jason is literally and metaphorically being brought out of the institutional darkness and into the light.
And that light becomes the catalyst for the next major revelation in the text, because as Jason is sitting out there in his wheelchair on the curb, the glaring spring sun is shining directly into his eyes.
Yeah, and this is where we finally get to experience Willie's true capabilities, and we get to see it through Jason's awakening perspective.
It's a great perspective shift.
It really is. Jason is squinting against the bright light. He tries to use his left hand to shade his eyes, but he finds that he physically cannot move his arm. Willie notices this struggle immediately and steps in, physically blocking the blinding sun for him.
It is a profoundly protective gesture.
Yeah.
Willie is shielding Jason not just from the sun, but from the exposure of the outside world they've just thrust him into.
But it's what Willie says next that completely shatters our understanding of his character. Willie observes the paralyzed arm and calmly diagnoses it as monoplasia.
Boom.
Yeah. He explains that it is a form of paralysis resulting from Jason's stroke. Willie then articulates a highly specific recovery plan. He tells Jason that with the right treatment, they can normalize the functions in his brain, and that his blood vessels, muscles, and tendons will eventually recover.
Which is wild.
It is. For a brief second, Willie doesn't sound like a marginalized orderly. He sounds exactly like a highly trained, deeply knowledgeable medical practitioner, which creates a massive disconnect. If Willie knows the clinical terminology, if he understands brain function, blood vessels, and tendons well enough to diagnose monoplasia on site, why does the entire hospital staff treat him like he is entirely clueless?
See, this disconnect is perhaps the most profound commentary StJames offers in the prologue. It has everything to do with how institutions judge intelligence based on cultural presentation.
How so?
Well, as Jason looks up at Willie, his vision is still blurry, but he takes in Willie's physical appearance. StJames paints Willie with incredibly grounded, earthy presence. Jason sees Willie's dark, round face and his long hair pulled back in a ponytail, noting his Native American heritage.
Oh, right.
The narration really emphasizes that Willie looks vastly more in tune with the natural world than anyone else inside that sterile building.
But the hospital staff completely misinterprets that grounded energy.
Totally. They look at Willie's earthy appearance and his quiet, wide-eyed demeanor, and they equate his lack of institutional arrogance with a lack of intelligence.
Of course they do.
In Dr. Wells' hyperclinical world, you are expected to wear that fake smile and project a very specific type of domineering authority. And because Willie doesn't speak or act like a textbook doctor, the establishment assumes he must be ignorant. They mistake his quiet observation for complete cluelessness.
It is the ultimate Trojan horse dynamic.
Exactly.
Willie possesses a deep clinical understanding of human anatomy, but he hides it behind the exact stereotypes the hospital projects onto him. He uses their prejudice against them.
He bridges the gap between Western clinical terminology and a more grounded, holistic understanding of healing. And what is beautiful about this scene is that Jason, the man whose physical vision is literally compromised and blurry, is the only one who actually sees Willie clearly.
Wow, yeah.
Despite the blurriness, Jason looks into Willie's eyes and sees that there are secrets and a deep spirit behind them. Jason recognizes instantly what the entire medical staff has missed for years, which is that Willie is the most attuned, capable healer in that entire zip code.
Which completely recontextualizes Willie's role moving forward. I mean, he isn't just a passive accomplice helping a mother sneak her son out the door. He is taking active control of Jason's continued survival.
Yeah.
And he is doing it based on a very deep-seated, deeply personal philosophy about the nature of medicine itself.
Oh, this is where it gets really interesting. StJames reveals that Willie harbors what are described as bad feelings about doctors.
That feelings.
Yeah, which, given the psychological abuse we've seen Dr. Wells inflict on him, that feels like a massive understatement.
Right. Just a bit of an understatement.
Well, Willie's grievance goes far beyond his personal treatment.
It's a philosophical rejection of their entire methodology.
Exactly that. Willie fundamentally believes that there's a profound spirit that actually heals men and women. And in his view, modern doctors are essentially in the way of that spirit.
In the way.
Yeah, they create a massive traffic jam in the healing process with their overwhelming hubris, their rigid textbooks, and their refusal to look at the patient as a whole human being. Willie believes the institution actively obstructs the natural mechanisms of recovery.
But this philosophy brings us directly to the most jaw-dropping reveal of the entire prologue, and honestly, the ultimate proof that we have crossed fully into thriller territory.
Yes, the shoebox.
The shoebox. As they are loading Jason into the getaway car, we get a look inside the blue sedan. Sitting right on the front seat, placed deliberately between Gloria and Jason, is a shoebox. And the narrator reveals that this shoebox is a little gift from Willie to Gloria.
A little gift.
Yeah, right. And inside that box is an absolute treasure trove of healing medicine that Willie has actively stolen directly from the hospital's locked storehouse.
It is a stunning escalation. I mean, Willie hasn't just forged a document, he has actively looted the hospital's pharmacy.
It completely shifts his character alignment. He is no longer just bending a rule to help a patient escape a bad doctor. By committing felony grand theft of pharmaceutical drugs, he is actively dismantling the hospital's monopoly on medicine.
Right.
And the narration ominously promises us that this also won't be the last time he does something like this. Willie is now operating completely outside the boundaries of the law, stealing the establishment's hoarded resources to use them on his own terms.
And what StJames highlights so brilliantly here is the sheer invisible competence with which Willie executes this theft.
Oh, yes.
The narrator makes a point to mention that all the good people of the hospital are continuing their daily work inside, entirely oblivious. Dr. Wells and his staff are completely blind to the fact that a man they view as beneath them can slip into their most secure areas, steal their resources, and administer life-saving aid like nobody's business, right under their noses.
Willie is operating as a literal ghost in the machine. He weaponizes their blindness. Because they refuse to see him as a threat or even as a capable human being, he is able to walk right into their locked storehouse, take the tools they are failing to use properly, and apply them to a patient they had essentially warehoused in a coma and given up on.
It is a masterclass in subverting traditional power dynamics. The medical establishment holds the keys to the locked storehouse, but they lack the intuition to truly heal.
Right.
Willie, the marginalized orderly, possesses the actual knowledge and the spiritual grounding required to use what is inside those bottles to bring a man back to life.
This entire sequence is just incredibly crafted. I mean, as we close out this deep dive into the prologue, it is staggering to look at how completely the landscape of this novel has shifted in just a few pages.
Completely different book.
We started with a tense morning encounter on a sidewalk, and we ended with the cementing of a radical illegal alliance between a desperate mother and a brilliant, underestimated orderly. We've broken down the mechanics of a flawless forgery that exploited a hospital's bureaucratic blind spots, resulting in a daring daylight escape. And we've uncovered a massive pharmaceutical theft that officially launches the story into the realm of a dark thriller.
StJames has flawlessly set the board for the rest of the narrative. As readers, we have been granted a highly privileged perspective here.
We really have.
We now know exactly who the true heroes of this story are, Gloria and Willie, and who the true villains are, the arrogant, blindingly rigid establishment represented by Dr. Wells. The rest of the world inside this novel is completely blind to this new reality, but we know exactly what high-stakes game is actually being played.
We know who is really holding the blueprints to the casino.
Oh, exactly.
But, before we wrap up today, there is a fascinating, lingering contradiction woven into this escape that I want to leave you, the listener, to ponder on your own. It's a tension that is absolutely going to drive the engine of the rest of this story.
Ooh, I love this part.
Willie firmly believes that doctors and the modern medical establishment are in the way of the true spirit that heals men and women. He fundamentally despises their rigid textbook methods. And yet, when it comes time to actually save Jason's life, what does Willie do?
He uses their stuff.
He relies entirely on pharmaceutical drugs stolen directly from that very same hospital's locked storehouse. He has to use the establishment's physical medicine to enact his own spiritual healing.
It's a huge paradox.
Right. Will this glaring contradiction, having to constantly rely on the very system he despises and steals from, ultimately be Willie's fatal undoing? Or is his unique ability to strip those resources away from the bureaucracy and combine them with his own hidden wisdom the secret weapon that makes him completely unstoppable?
That is the big question.
It really is. It is definitely something to think about the next time you assume the person standing quietly in the background is just part of the scenery. They might just be the one orchestrating the entire operation.
This is Troy. I wanted to thank you for listening and hope that you tune in for my weekly presentation of In Darkness We Sleep. Vocals by Eric Neubauer and Troy St. James. Music and episode art provided by Robert McNichol. I can be contacted directly at troystjames@cox.net. Join me on Facebook or follow on Twitter at Troy St. James. This audio podcast is produced by Troy St. James, copyright 2012. Have a good night.